You there. What are you doing? What do you mean? I'm praying to my scouts to bring me good players. What do you mean you're praying to the scouts? I mean, don't you have, like, control over the scouts? No, I don't. I just figured that it was too complicated for me to learn, so I've given it to the game, and may the game redeem me. What if I just got Zealand to finally make a scouting video? That's a great idea. And I'm in luck, because I am me. Welcome to a new type of video. I don't know. I'm actually live on Twitch right now while I'm recording this video. And if you want to see cool things like that happen, you can follow my Twitch. It's linked down below, and Reese will make it pop up in some fancy way. Chat, we need to change the color. I get to say that on a video. I get to say, hey, chat, we need to change the color. I can't. Oh. Nice. We had a little discussion in the chat before we started filming this video. And what we decided is that while I've tiptoed around making a scouting video before, I've actually never made just a scouting overview. Where to go, how to do it, what to look for, scouting. This video is for people that have really never taken on scouting for themselves. It's also for the people that have taken on scouting, but they get that horrible sinking feeling. They don't know what they're doing and everything's just falling apart. Now, in order to cover all this stuff, we're going to need to move pretty quick. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to lean heavily on my editor, whose name is Reese. If you didn't know who he was, you do now, and his links to all of his stuff, including a wonderful new YouTube channel he's starting up about how he edits these videos, is all down in the description. And I would highly recommend checking it out. He is way cooler than he even gives himself credit for, and is going to be awesome on YouTube. I know it. Oh, he learned from someone middling. Do I count as someone middling? But back to the speed that we're going to have to move at. That's obviously not my specialty, so we're just going to kind of dive into it. This is the scouting overview. For this video, we're going to be using the Bate save that I've actually already finished, but its advantage over the Gianetto save that I'm currently playing on Twitch is that the Bate save, I have like 45 scouts. I don't have 45, but I have a lot of scouts, data analysts, the whole 9 yards, so I can show you what all of those people do with excess and room to tweak. First important thing you need to know is where to go to take control of your scouting, because you might not have control. So we're going to go to Staff, Responsibilities, and Scouting. There are only two options. There, you just want to click this button, Take Control. Once we've taken control, you go to the Confirm button behind my head, click it, and we are ready to get down to business. The business can be found at Scouting, and then we'll deal with this whole Scouting Center later. You want to go to Assignments, and in here is where you will see all of your scouts. Now, in this section, you might notice that there are fewer people than you expected. If you want to figure out how many people are supposed to be here, you go to Staff, and it will tell you exactly how many scouts you will have. I have 20, including my chief scout. You will probably have less. We just won the Champions League in this save. I mean, it's not even like a humble brag. It's just a brag because, we're too cool, aren't we?
Nope.
Okay. Brags or no brags aside, you might notice that you need to hire a few more scouts. So let's go over what to look for first. You'll go into your staff search, and it's already going to be pre-filtered for people that are likely to want to sign with you in some capacity. It'll look blank if you haven't interacted with it before, or whatever you put in before will be up there. Just go to recruitment team and scout, and then you want to pick out a couple of attributes that are going to be important: judging player ability and judging player potential. And then you're also going to want to peg adaptability, because the ability to adapt to different environments is obviously very important for somebody that's traveling looking for players. What I would recommend is starting out with one of these preset lines and then just kind of moving up or down from there, depending on how many people aren't there on the list. So I'll start at 15, and I would imagine the good number of people are going to be there. Tiny potential pitfall. Make sure that you have realistic first team appointments set. You won't be hiring any scouts for your other teams. Let's move this line up, which you can do from the top by just clicking these pluses. And we're going to narrow this down so where we have a few options of people to sign. And 17's the line. Once you've narrowed it down to this field of scouts that you have in front of you, make sure you click on this and go to mental attributes, because I clearly know how to do this. Here you can sort for judging player ability, judging player potential, and adaptability without having to click on the individual players themselves. And once you find two people that are clearly comparable, they both have an outstanding amount of judging player ability. Their adaptability is basically negligible. We're going to go in and look at where these people are from. We have Andrea Voss, who's Dutch and has knowledge of a good portion of the European countries, and that knowledge is going to allow them to scout those areas faster. And then you have Gabby Ruiz, who only has knowledge of Spain, and, well, yeah, the dude's like a Spanish nationalist or something. But Andrea Voss has more knowledge of different areas. She has higher discipline and close to the same determination, relatively. Those are the other two, kind of the holy trinity, that having those be better is just always better mentally. She's the person I would sign. And that's how you do it. Now that we've secured a staff member, it's time to go back to scouting itself. But there is a part of scouting that you might not be fully aware of. And I have to click on players and player search to make it pop up. But once a year, you're going to be asked about something called scouting packages. And the only way you can see it now is you go to players and then player search, and then all of a sudden it's going to pop up. These scouting packages, I get asked a lot of questions about. What do they do? What's the point of spending this amount of money per year for a scouting package? A scouting package increases your club's knowledge. It does not scout the players, but it informs you of more players that exist. This is why a youth package is twice as expensive, because there are a lot more youth players than senior players to be made aware of. So when I go to my player search, everybody in the world is in it, because I'm paying for a global package that's informing me about the basics of every player in the world. This helps your scouts because your club knowledge is clearly better. It does not, however, do specific scouting for you. Those are the scouts that we hire. But it's time to get back into assignments. We've signed all of our scouts. Our packages are handled like FedEx. Wow, I'm good. On this assignments page, this is the most straightforward way to set up your assignments for your scouts. And since you are controlling your own scouting staff now, you need to learn how to click on Create New Assignment, where you will be faced with a plethora of options. But hold on. Oh, hold on. Bring me up. Beam me up, Reese. Really, just make the picture larger. Okay. Don't ask me how I set my scouts up and assume that it's going to apply to you. Scouting will only be effective if you take how to scout and apply it to what your team needs. The needs of Champions League winning Bate Borisov are going to be very different from most teams in the world. Now, if you're an absolutely massive club, yes, the way I set up my scouts is the way you might want to set up your scouts, but you need to tailor your scouting to what you can take advantage of. What is going to help you get better? What is going to give you an advantage over your competitors? Any word will do, Zealand. So now that we come back to the corner, you should have a different approach to what we're looking at, and you just need to understand all the different levers that you can adjust in order to take advantage of any opportunities your club might have. There are presets that help you navigate this window as well. You can look for a specific type of player type, and when you click on that type of player type, it pulls up additional conditions that you can essentially create yourself if you don't want to use these archetypes. Like current scouted ability is good, which is 3 stars. We go for a hot prospect, the potential ability is good, and the age is at or below 24, and those options are just removed from this large advanced section down here. You also have the opportunity to pick a positional preset. It has to fit inside of one of the tactics that you have. Hopefully there is creatively named. And if you really want to dig into something specific, as I'll do if I'm looking for a goalkeeper, center back, striker of some kind, you can click on a specific position. You can even drill down onto certain desirable attributes that your scouts will then go looking for. But where are they scouting? That is determined in the top right, and it's full of a bunch of different options. First is the scouting range. Now, for most clubs, this is going to be the entire world. If your board limits the ability to scout, and this is like lower league England, you'll only be able to scout the British Isles, then your scouting range is just the British Isles. You don't have the money to be sending a scout anywhere else. And there is a heavy debate to be had about the most effective way to cover ground. And I think everybody can agree that scouting a specific competition is not necessarily the most effective way to cover ground unless you really are scouting a small area, or if you need certain things for registration, then you can scout specific competitions to help you. The next level is you can scout a specific nation. Now, this will scout everybody that is playing in that entire country. So scouting the Premier League, you will only scout players on Premier League teams. Now, if you are scouting all of England, you are obviously doing a lot more work. You need to keep that in mind. It will take your scout a lot longer to get back to you. They're going to be more reliant on their determination and adaptability if they don't already have knowledge of England to accumulate that, and the reports will come back less quickly. So if you know what level they're playing at, go to competition, pick a league in a country that you want to scout, and that can provide a quick fix because you need a goalkeeper or else you're going to be screwed in a month when the transfer window closes. But if you want to go the opposite direction, which is the direction that I typically prefer to go, especially when I'm building clubs, you can go to region. Now, region, they're divided up, and you can look up online, and I'll try to link down below. Some regions that can produce surprisingly good players for cheap, if that's what you're looking for: West Africa, North Africa, and the Middle East. Moving on to continents, which is essentially if you want a long-form scout that's going to take them a while to put this report together. It's going to take them a while to get started, even if they're a great scout with knowledge of some countries on the continent. But they will eventually comb through the entire thing. I mean, talking could take over a year. But if you've got a lot of scouts, you might want to long form just sweep Asia and let the rest of your scouts do other things. This is how you would do that. And then the final section that you've got to concern yourself with and know how to work is the transfer type. You can go for transfers, loans, or say you're a poor club, you don't have a lot of money, you just start looking for people that their contracts are going to expire. Just get your offers in, man. You know? Go fishing. It wasn't a big one. You can, even if it's set on transfer or loan, set 97 million. They're a big spender. You can set, the limit on what you're looking for if you're balling on a budget, as we all should. Now, though, for arguably the most important part where you pick which scout you're going to use. Now, I would highly recommend using a scout that has some knowledge of the area you're going to be sending them to. And obviously, if it's more important to you, you want to use a better scout, more adaptability, more determination, and better judging player ability and potential. Now, it's not the end of the world if they have 15 instead of 17 judging player ability and potential. The guy with the 15s, or the gal with the 15s, is going to be very capable of appraising a player. But if I'm about to make a big signing, I'll send Mr. 20 bags over there to make sure. And then when you're done, this says start assignment. It's like behind my head, though. 3, 2, 1. Booyah. Up. You thought we were done with this screen, but we're not, because there are 2 other things to click on over here. They're obviously not as important, but the team section kind of is, because here you can get ongoing reports on the next opposition. This is huge. For this, you're going to look for somebody that you don't have to care about judging player potential, but you do have to care about tactical knowledge. You just need one. Judging player ability, tactical knowledge. That's your next opposition scout. You just pick them right out of here and good go. Then there's another thing called ongoing analyst reports, which is different. It analyzes the data being produced by teams, and these come from people called data analysts that we have actually not said anything about. Talk about analysts real quick. Let's go back to staff, and when you go to scouting and transfer team, you will notice when you sort by job, that these quirky data analysts kind of pop up. Now, you're allowed a lot fewer, even at the highest levels, but they can make a huge difference. Not only do these people provide you with a bunch of valuable information that you wouldn't otherwise have when it comes to preparing for matches, they can actually find players for you, which we'll see in a second. When you're looking for a data analyst outside of the normal mental attributes you're searching for, they need to be good at judging player data, team data, and presenting data. If you want to figure out what each is weighted towards, you can hover over it individually, but that's the triumvirate. Use it wisely. Then when you have your favorite analysts, you just can pick them to do the data analyst stuff and set the number of matches that you want them to work on. And otherwise, the chief data analyst, he's just Richard Hughes. He's just gonna keep on going. The last section in here is like scouting specific matches, and unless you're getting ready essentially for the Champions League final and you really want to scout that specific match with multiple people, and you can do that here. Other than that, I never open this, and you shouldn't either. We waste enough time playing this game. You don't need this. And that is how you set up your scouting, but it's not the end of the story. See, when you send something out, it will inevitably come back. So however often you set it to come back in your staff responsibilities screen, that report will come back in something called the Scouting Center. So let's just go over how to look at it once all your scouts have done what you've told them to do, and your data analysts and all the village people. If you ever want to see the scouting report when it doesn't pop up in your inbox, you can just go to scouting and it'll pop up. We've got 15 remaining, and you have a couple of options. You can discard, acknowledge, scout the player further, make an offer, or offer a trial. Now, I'm not going to go into these in detail, but I just wanted you to know those are your options. The first person on our report is from our data analyst. Pay attention to where it's coming from. It says, hey, look, these stats are telling us this guy might be good, and he's getting paid $18 million a year. So I could probably tell you he's pretty good. He's attempted the second most shots in the Bundesliga, which good for him, man. He's really a go-getter. We're just going to acknowledge. And now we get to a scouting report. Alexander Ciolin says, Marcus Vinicius, a previously scouted player, has been put on the loan list. He's got a scout recommendation of 60. Now, a scout recommendation is kind of the same as the stars. It is liable to how much you need the position, to how much the player is going to cost. So if a guy's going to cost you $200 million, he's never going to be a 100 on the scout recommendation. It's also changed by form a good bit, but it's still a fairly reliable metric. And for me, if anybody's below a 55 on my recommendation personally with the team I'm at now, I cut them loose. So thank you, my man. You can get an analyst report if you want a data-driven approach to scouting players. That's another thing your analyst can do, but we don't want that. Just another report. I've started scouting Aubameyang. I sent somebody to go scout this guy for more. That's lovely. Now another data analyst report. And you just click through these different options, look at the analysis, look at the attributes, and decide what action you want to take. And you can go into your staff responsibilities and set what exactly will happen when you click on this scout player button. Do they scout them for a week? Do they scout them until they have full knowledge? Be wary of that, because sometimes it can take a while and the pipeline will back up, and I'm not a plumber. But then every once in a while you stumble upon a report like this, where it is one of your scouts who you've sent out finding a player for the first time that has not been in your system before. I observed Jordy, oh, that's a whale of a name, Jordy Verliesdunk, and I'm sure that's wrong. And they'll tell you a thing or two. I'm sure it would be a superb signing, and they tell you what match they watched, and they went, this guy meets the criteria that you sent this scout out to find, and then you are presented with all of this information, and you're ready to make an educated decision to keep scouting. Even sometimes the scout will say his control of the ball was sensational. They'll point out the aspects of the player's game that really are outstanding, and maybe if that's what you're looking for, you can go off that. I've picked out another example here, a guy named Miguel Angel Rodriguez, and this is a player that is not already been found by a major European club that one of my scouts has pulled out. So what I'm going to do is look at him and make sure that I think he has a chance to be somebody that I want to sign. I'll check out the different positions and his potential role suitability in those positions. I'll make sure to check the scouting report to make sure he, doesn't hate big matches and like old folks' homes and other really large red flags. And then I'll go, okay, keep scouting. And then when I see a guy available on free transfer, I hit offer trial every single time. And if there was ever a creed to live by, that's probably the best one that I can think of. Always offer the trial. Always. But with one last tidbit, keep in mind, even when you're sending scouts out inside your scouting range, it's costing your club money. So if you're going bankrupt, sending a guy halfway across the world to do a bunch of scouting work months at a time is probably not the best way to spend maybe $100,000 or maybe $200,000 if you're doing an unbelievably extravagant scouting run. So just keep that in mind. And that is how you scout and then reap the rewards, hopefully. I mean, did you see that guy? That was a good two-sided fullback. I'm pretty, I'll see you guys in the next video. We've got a guy to sign. Shut up! Who the hell is this guy? What? 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 Holy...